Hello and welcome to Flo's Crafty Crochet. Today we're looking at how to make dragon scale gloves. We're going to be using some double knitting yarn. We're going to be using a 3.5mm hook, a tapestry needle and a pair of scissors. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a slip knot in order to start our work. So we just, whatever method you need to do in order to create a slip knot. Okay, so now according to the pattern we need to chain 35. So yarn over and pull through, and you repeat that 35 times, trying to keep it as straight as possible and your tension relatively loose. You don't want these stitches to be too tight working back into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, you can use your fingers to take these stitches off if you want. So just yarn over and pull through. And there we have 35. So what I want you to do with your chain is to try and pull your chain straight so that there's no kinks in it. And so when you get to the bottom, pulling it straight, I want you to lift that little bit and just put it onto the end of the hook, like so. And then we're going to slip stitch to close that. So we're just going to put the yarn over and pull everything through. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. In that same stitch we're going to put another treble stitch, and that's going to be 2 treble crochets. Then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're going to skip 2 chains. So there's 1 chain bottom, 2 chain bottoms, and we're going to go into the 3rd chain bottom, and we're going to put 1 treble in there. When we've that 1 treble made, we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip 1 chain and we're going to put 2 trebles into the next. 1, 2, and we're going to repeat that process. We're now going to chain 2, 1, 2, we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and we're going to put 1 treble into the next. Now we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip 1, and we're going to put 2 trebles into the next. 1, 2, again chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, treble into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, treble into the next. And again to create our little double. Now chain 2, skip 2, treble into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, so skip this one, 2 trebles into the next. 1, 2, and then chain 2, skip 2, 1, 2, treble into the next, chain 1, skip 1, treble into the next. As you're going around, please try and ensure that your chain is not getting caught up and that it is not twisting. Okay, so sorry, I made a mistake there. So chain 2 after the group of 2 and skip 2, 1, 2 into this one. Okay, now chain 1 and we need another group of 2, so 1, 2, chain 2, 1, 2, and into skip 2, 1, 2 into this one. So I just want to check how many chains I have, or how many groups of 2 I have around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's correct. So when I get 7 groups of 2 and 7 individual trebles, then I just chain 1 and then I slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to close that off. So you can see the top of the chain 3 there, that's where I want you to put your hook into, pull the yarn through both stitches, and that finishes our first foundation round off for the dragon scale gloves. Okay, so you should have 7 groups of 2 trebles and 7 groups of 1 treble. Okay, so moving on now from that point, and is our first row done. That's our base row. So now we're going to be working onto our dragon scale row. So our dragon scale row is all made up of trebles. This is why this pattern is suitable for a beginner. So the first thing you need to do is you need to chain 3. Yarn over, pull through 3 times. 2, 3. Now this time, normally whenever you're creating a treble, you put the yarn over and you go into this stitch and you work along in a straight line. This time, we're inserting the hook behind this treble. Okay, so you're putting the yarn over and you're going behind the treble. Now, when I'm doing it, I put the yarn over and I slightly turn my work so that I'm pulling this way. So I'm making my treble as normal. It just is around the post. So you're going to do that, and you're going to do it until you have 5 trebles in total, including the little chain. So that's 1 done, so we need to do another 3. 2, sorry, we need to do another 4, can't count tonight. So 1, 2, 3 and 2 more. Those 5 trebles are going to just sit, and just let you see, they have sat around that post. See the way that's the first half there? It is sat around the post. Now we're going to chain 1 because that's the point of our dragon scale, and we're going to turn our work like so. So this is the way we'd normally be working. So we're going to turn that so that we're pointing sideways. Okay, so this is our other treble stitch from the group of 2, and what we're going to do is around this treble stitch we're going to place 5 trebles. Yarn over, go in and around through the same as we did for the other side, like so. Create your treble as normal. Do that again, yarn over, go underneath. So it's the same as working into a stitch, except instead of working into a stitch, you're lifting the post up and you're working in and around it. So do you see the way if I pull that, I've literally worked right round in underneath that post. So when you turn it back around, you should have something that looks, oh, I'm going to pull my R out of that. So it looks a little bit like that, like a dragon scale. Now I don't know how clear that's showing up on the camera, but it does look like a little dragon scale. When you get to this point, you need an anchor for that scale to attach to, because otherwise it's just in the air. So what you do is, there should be a single treble post behind. So in that single treble post, you're going to do a slip stitch. So you're going to go into the top of the stitch and you're just going to slip stitch. It's as simple as that. So once that's done, now we need to work into the next one. So every time you see 2 trebles together, you know that that is a scale stitch. Every time you see one on its own, that's an anchor stitch and you need to put a slip stitch into it. So we're going to put our yarn over and we're going to work again, going in through that stitch and through the back. So like so, so that we're pointing sideways. Okay, and we're going to put 5 around that post. So do you see the way that is just kind of attached on and it's pulling my work sideways? So go with it. Wherever your work wants to move to, you let it work that way, because that's what's easiest for you. Okay, so when you have your 5 trebles done, you do a chain 1, turn your work around so that you can access the treble on the other side, and then work up. Now this will take a little while. It is very fiddly, but once you master it, you'll be flying. Okay, so there is our 3rd, 4th and 5th. Okay, and again now we're coming up to a single, so it's a single, so we're going to anchor, so we're going to slip stitch directly into it. Okay, now we have our doubles again, so yarn over, go around the post and count for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, I missed it, 4, 5, and then you're coming to the pinnacle of your scale, so you need to put a chain 1, so chain 1 and turn, so that we are working up the other side. So we're going in there and we're going to do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, it's all about hand position, and I'm trying to pull the yarn out and I've ended up with a little bit of yarn barf. Now that is something that happens with Riot. Sometimes when you pull it, they're a centre pull ball, and sometimes whenever you pull it, they do end up all stuck together. It's quite a fibrous yarn, so if you're gentle with it, it should just pull apart again. Okay, so now at this point I have 3 scales done, 1, 2, 3, and I need to anchor it back on. So I'm just going to go to the back and I'm going to anchor that on, and then I'm going to work into the next one. So you're just going to do that the whole way around this first beginning row, putting 5 around one side, doing a chain 1, and then 5 around the other side. So chain 1 and turn your work so that you can get access round that stitch. And there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again when you have the 5th one done, you need to go and do a little anchor stitch, which is your slip stitch, and then back to your trebles. So 5 trebles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so as I was saying, that's our first row complete. You should have 7 dragon scales. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what we do now after the final slip stitch is we slip stitch into the top of the dragon scale as well. So you've slip stitched into the treble stitch there. Then if you flatten your scale across, and where the chain 3 runs across here, if you just slip stitch anywhere there as long as it's towards the end and pull through, and that will close that dragon scale off. So now we're ready to make row 2. So the dragon scale will be done on repeating rows of the scale itself and the setup round for the scale. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do the setup round. So you chain 3, and that acts as a treble. In the same stitch you put another treble. So you have 2 trebles. Then you chain 2, and then you go into here. Okay, so where that space is, you just do 1, then you chain 2 again, and you put 2 trebles in the treble that's behind. So where you've slip stitched into and where there is a treble stitch from the previous row, you now put 2 trebles. So I don't know if you can see that clearly. This is the treble from the row below. You have a slip stitch in it to anchor down your scale, and now you're going to have 2 trebles in it as well. Then you chain 2. Then you place 1 treble in that centre again, chain 2, and you go again, and this time for 2 trebles, 2, chain 2, and again we've got a space here, so inside the space you're always only going to have 1 treble, chain 2, and then in behind you put your 2, 1, 2, and again 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, nope. So you're not actually looking for a stitch at any point here. So this treble stitch is kind of just put in the centre of the hole. The same with the treble. You're putting your stitch in, and where you want to go in is the top of the treble stitch where the slip stitch is in also. So that's us, and then another treble. So treble, chain 2, 2 trebles the whole way around, and then another chain 2, and then we go again, chain 2. So now we're round to the end again. So I've chained 2 after my last treble, and I'm just going to slip stitch to close in the top of the chain 3. So just as normal as you would have done before. So that's row 2 complete. So now that that is complete, what you need to do for this is you need to do your dragon scale again. So we're going to go over that again. So you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, put the yarn over, and then you're going to go round behind the back of the stitch again, and you're going to do that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to chain 1. You're going to turn your work around slightly, and you're going to go for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again you need to anchor your stitch down, so it's a slip stitch in there. Then 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, turn your work round, and 5 this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to go in there and this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 1, go around this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1. And you're just going to repeat that the whole way around. So if you want, you can pause the video at this point until you catch up, until you get to the end of the row. So you'll be able to see too with the Riot yarn that it should already be changing colours. The thing with this yarn, and one of the reasons why I've chosen to use it, is that it has such a lovely colour change that it almost ends up as if each row of your dragon scale will be a different colour. It ends up quite pretty then. And again, it's all done naturally because of the natural variegation in the yarn. So it makes your job as a crocheter much easier. So round to that last petal, or the last dragon scale. So you've made your last scale. And then you've anchored, and once you've anchored, same as the last time, flatten this scale over and then just slip stitch in through the top to close. So now you should have 2 rows complete. You are going to continue those repeat rows until you have a total of 7 rows of dragon scale. So you'll start with your chain 3, you'll put your other treble in the same part, you'll chain 2, and then you'll put 1 in between the scale. Chain 2, 2 trebles in there. So you're going to repeat that the whole way around until you have grown it, until your glove has 7 rows of dragon scale. So I'm going to leave you for now, and then I'll join you back whenever you have your 7 rows of dragon scale done. Okay. Okay, so that's us back again now. So what you should have is 7 rows of dragon scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so you've done your slip stitch and you've anchored in your little scale. So what you need to do now is chain 3, 1, 2, 3. In that stitch that you've just put the chain coming out of, you're going to put 2 more trebles into there. So it is quite difficult to do it, so as close to it as possible. Sometimes it ends up going underneath, and that's okay. So 3. Okay, then in the center of the scale you're going to put 3 trebles also. 1, 2, 3. So this is becoming kind of like the granny square at the minute. The next one, this treble that's behind where you were slip stitching into, you're also going to put 3. So basically in each space the whole way around you need to have 3 treble crochets. So we're just going to do that now. So 1, 2, 3. Space behind, you're going to put 3, 1, 2, 3. The dragon scale space itself, you're going to put 3, 1, 2, 3, and as I say, you're going to continue that process the whole way around. Please feel free to pause this video until you do that, until we get round to the very last one that you need to work. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're coming now to the last one. So I've just done the 3 in that space, and you'll see the original 3 that I started with. What we need to do at this point is to create a thumb hole in order for your thumb to be able to go into the gloves. So how we're going to do that is we're going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My advice for this is not to have that chain too tight. The tighter the chain, the less likely it's going to be that your thumb is going to fit in. When you have the 7th chain done, I want you to slip stitch that to the top of the first chain 3, and that completes that round. You can see there quite clearly that that's a thumb hole and how that's going to work. Okay, now we need to start our next row. And we're going to be starting to do some natural decreases in this row to pull the shape in. So what you're going to do is you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to skip. You're going to work into this next hole. So you're going to skip that 3 trebles and you're going to work in the next hole. And in that next hole you're going to put 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. And in each space around you're also going to put in 3 trebles. 1, 3. So it's kind of again like the granny square where in each chain space you would have put your 3 trebles. This is exactly the same. So you're just going to put your 3 trebles the whole way around. I want you to work that the whole way around until you come to that chain 7 space. So if you need to, pause the video there and I'll meet you back around when we're about to work the space. Okay. Okay, so that's us at the chain space now. So what I want you to do is that first chain that's after the group of 3, I want you to place 3 trebles into it. So the first chain space immediately after the last group of 3, you're going to put 3 trebles into that. Then you're going to count, and you're going to count from the end, you're going to count back 3. So 1, 2, 3. That 4th one is where you're going to put another group of 3 trebles. So you can do it 2 ways. You can skip 3 this side, 1, 2, 3, and put your 3 trebles in here. It's just so that your group of 3 trebles is evenly spaced out. So there's your group of 3. Now I want you to skip again, and where that chain 3 is coming out of, I want you to place 2 trebles. 1, 2, and then slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to finish that round off. So that finishes it completely. You can see that there's a group of 3, and the same the whole way around. There's groups of 3 the whole way around. We're now moving on to the next row. So again, chain 3. Where that chain 3 is coming out of, there is a hole underneath. I want you to place 2 more trebles down there. Okay, and in every single row around now, I also want you to put 3 trebles. So this is just a natural row. There's no increases and no decreases. So like I said before, if you want to pause the video while you work your 3 trebles in each space around, that's okay. Please feel free to do so, and I'll meet you back round at the beginning. Okay, so that's me coming up to the end. So I'm just going to do my last group of 3 trebles, which is in there. And then again, as normal, I'm going to slip stitch in there, and that'll end my row. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 3 again, and as always that acts as a treble. 2 more trebles in that space, creating a group of 3. In the next hole, this time I'm only going to place 2 trebles. 1, 2. Same in the next hole, there will only be 2 trebles. 1, 2. The next hole will have 3. 1, 2, 3. I want you to repeat that process around. So 3 trebles, the next hole will have 2 trebles, and the hole after that will have 2 trebles, and then you're back to 3 trebles. So it's going 3, 2, 2, 3, 2 in this one, 2 in this one, 3 in this one, 2 in the next one, and 2 in the one after that, 3, then 2, 1, 2, and one more 2, 1, 2, and back round to a 3, 1, 2, 3. Join with a slip stitch to the first group and finish that off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat the chain 3 and the 3 into the one that is there, 1, 2, and that gives us our group of 3. Then we're going to skip the next hole. We're going to pretend it isn't there. We're going to skip it all together. And then we're going to go into the next hole. So we're skipping this hole and working into the next, and we're placing 3 trebles in there. 1, 2, 3. In the next hole we're going to put 3 trebles as normal. 2, 3. And in the next one we'll put 3 in as normal. 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip this hole and we're going to put 3 in the next. So what it's doing is it's pulling the shape of the glove in to fit around your hand. So 3 groups of 3 trebles. 1, this is the second group, and we have one more to do in there. 1, 2, 3. You're going to skip 1 and into the next one you're going to put 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. And you're going to put another group of 3 in here. 1, 2, 3. And the same in here. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to skip this group. So you're skipping this hole and you're going in here. So 1, and then your next group of 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you're slip stitch to the top of the chain as normal, and that closes that round off. So when we have that done, that ends all the decreases and increases. Okay, so each row after this is going to be where you are just creating 3 in each hole. So the whole way around you're going to have 3 treble crochets in each hole, and you're going to do that for a total of 14 rows. So at the minute you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows completed. So you're going to need to do that for another 9 rows. So how you do is you chain 3 to begin as always. Into the same space you'll do 3 crochets, 2 trebles. The next hole you'll put your group of 3 as normal, and indeed the whole way around you're just going to put a group of 3. So I'm going to leave you there. So we'll come back whenever you have your 14 rows of trebles done the whole way around. And if you try and think of it as a granny, where you're just putting those group of 3 trebles together, it does make it easier. So I'm going to leave you there and I'll meet you back round. Okay, so now by this stage you should have all your 14 rows done. So now we're into the last 3 rows. So instead of chaining 3, this time all I want you to do is chain 1. In that same stitch I want you to place a double crochet. So for a reminder, a double crochet is putting the hook straight in, pulling the yarn through, putting the yarn over and taking off 2. And what you're going to do is in each stitch around, so the top of each treble, you're going to put one of those double crochets. So the top of each stitch, the whole way around, you're putting in a double crochet. So the whole way around. It's just in the very top of the stitches, not in the gaps, but in the top of the stitches themselves. So you're just going to place that in there. So if you want to pause the video and I'll meet you back round at the end. Okay, so that's us almost back round. So double crochet in the last stitch, and this time slip stitch to that first initial stitch. Now we're going to repeat that row again. So you're going to chain 1 and you're going to stitch in the same stitches joining, and this time you're going to double crochet in each previous double crochet. So the double crochet from the row below before, you're just going to double crochet into that, and that creates 2 rows at the top. So again, if you want to pause this until you work the whole way around, and I'll meet you back at the end. Okay, so that's also almost at the end. Just putting in the last stitch and slip stitch to that stitch as normal. Okay, and now we're beginning our final row, the picot row. So what I want you to do is chain 3. In order to create a picot, you slip stitch back down into the stitch that you've just made. So you're taking up the loop of the chain and you're going to go into the stitch. See where that stitch is coming out of there? You're going to slip stitch there. So what I do is I kind of push the stitches away with my finger, hold them at the very bottom and pull my hook through everything. And what that'll do is that'll create a little bobble. You see the little bobble there. Then in the next 3 stitches, I'm just going to do a normal double crochet. 2, 3. And the third one, I'm going to create my picot. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch back down into the stitch that you've just made. So I take the loop and I go into the double crochet and I slip stitch. Okay, so then you go 1, 2, 3 again. So 1 double, 2 doubles, 3. And I'm going to show you that again. So you chain 3, 1, 2, 3. I take the loop of the stitch, so this loop that's running around the bottom, and I go into the double crochet itself at the base. Pull it that way, slip stitch everything off, and it creates our little wee bumps. So again, 1, 2, 3, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, grab the part of that stitch and down in there, put it all together and slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, chain 3, grab that and down. So again, you're going to do that the whole way around to the end. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're almost round to the end now. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Last picot. And we'll do our 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. That last stitch, just make that a slip stitch. Pull it out. Use your scissors to snip off a piece of yarn. Again, I would always tell the people that come to my classes, you know, the longer you can leave your end, the better. So pull that off. Just go back in one more time just to secure that, just chain 1. And then you're going to take your tapestry needle and you're going to thread that in through there and go in. And as I always say, a magic number is 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to go 1, 2, and then we're going to go back 1, 3. So you're literally working in the back of the yarn, so it's not coming through to the front, but it's securing your work so that that end won't come undone. Snip that. Do the same for the piece at the very bottom, so that your beginning piece. So use your tapestry hook again. You just put it in. And again, 3 is the magic number, so go up and through. All you're doing is tidying this end away. So if you have a different method for tidying in your end, by all means, you're more than welcome to do it. That's just the way that I do it. And now there you have your glove. So that's that lovely and finished. We'll just try it on to make sure it's okay. So that's us. I'm quite happy with that. So the other thing is, when you've made your glove, a lot of people just start working, they just pull their yarn from where they ended off. So for this particular yarn, I've ended off in orange, so if I went to make the second glove, it would be starting in orange. So what I do is, I don't really like them being different, I like them to be the same. So what I would do is, I pull this yarn out until I get back to the colours that it was. So we're starting, for me, I'm starting when the reds start to come in. So I keep pulling that until I see the reds starting to come out. So that's us starting to change colour now. But I know that my initial red is a much darker red. So I keep going until I find that that darker red is starting to come in. Darker red, almost purple for me. So I'll just keep going, because I can see in the yarn that's coming here that the purple's coming shortly. So if I look, that matches it now, but I want it to be close to when the purple's going to come out. So I'm going to take that, and there's the start of the darker purple coming out. So at that point, I'm going to snip, put that to one side, and this is where I'm going to start my other glove. So again, using the same process that you have done before. Thank you for taking the time today to watch this video from Fro's Crafty Crochet on how to make dragon scale fingerless gloves. I hope you find the video useful. If you did, can you please hit like and hit the wee bell to subscribe so that you get future content from this channel. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for listening today. Bye bye.